This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard the Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary here on this Wednesday, January something or other.
Ish. Yeah, ish.
January-ish. Yeah, I even went back a page, but I used that for different notes. And I would have been wrong. Today's the 16th?
15. 1-5.
Wow. We're halfway through January, man. That is crazy. Here's how my feeble mind works. It's not gonna be sub-zero today, and it's not snowing or ice. And I'm like, wow, and we're halfway through January. I'm like, we're golden. We've got 2 months. We've got basically 2 months that we have to fight through from here out. And if we get through those 2 months, it's just easy. It's cake, man. And today's one of those days. So this is 1 day through 2 months of cake work.
I agree. I'm scared to see what it might be like in March and April, given that we've had such a mild winter so far. But remember it got cold early. It got cold in
it was freaky
September, yeah.
So
that's right, Tim. It is game day.
He says it's game day. He gets out. He's getting the early morning shout out. We appreciate it. Hitting us up on the text line 812-269-6367. You can do the same. It's game day. How's Jim, Todd, and Jake doing today? Thanks a lot, Tim. We're doing just peachy. Hope you're doing fine as well. Ryan from Michigan, he's on the text line already. He's got IU 71, Rutgers 67 in tonight's basketball game as the Hoosiers. He is correct. They are in Piscataway, New Jersey tonight to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights in a Big Ten contest that is this is not your grandpa's Rutgers team, so this is going to be a game. It's going to be a test for Indiana. Rutgers has won 6 straight currently right now. They're sitting somewhere in the vicinity of a tie for second place in the Big Ten. I can't believe I said that out loud, but I did. Jordan Hall's on the program today. Did I say that out loud? Matt Weaver, of course. We'll talk to Matthew. Our old friend Jordan Hall's, great friend of the show, over in Germany. Where were you when you played over there, Toddrick?
France for a year and Cyprus for a year. But I also got to go to Dubai and Spain. And
just the sheer part of getting to travel in those areas had to be worth it.
Oh, it was cool. It was, when you're that age and you're just fresh out of college and, you just have never been over there for one. A lot of that part of it was really, really cool. It's just truly the basketball was the worst part of it. Really, and I know that doesn't even seem like it makes sense, but it just was the case.
But did you ever dream that when you were in high school that you would get to go do that?
That was the dream. The dream was to play in the NBA or play professionally and get paid for playing basketball. And so, that was the dream. It just is not exactly the way you envision it. And it's cool. That's why I'm interested to hear how Jordan appreciates it and likes it. Sure things are different now. Remember,
Jake had a dream once.
25 years
ago. Professional basketball player. Then something happened one day. He woke up. He realized that.
Yeah, here's the difference. Yes, a lot of these guys play hard and work hard and do all that stuff. But here's the biggest. Most of them are insanely lucky. That's why a guy like Jordan Holes is. He's like you and me. He's 6 feet tall. He's like us. I don't want to hear how hard LeBron James worked. He's 6'8", 285 pounds.
Is Jordan really 6 foot? I'm thinking he's
5'10", 5'11".
I'm going to say, because I'm 6'1", and I'm like, I think I got him.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, he's the average American height,
Right.
average American male height, and so I mean, him doing it is more extraordinary than the guys who have a 7'4" wingspan and are 6'6". I mean, that's you can't work hard enough. You can't do anything to work hard to grow or make your arms longer. It's just is a lot of it is luck, and that's where, you know, I mean, heck, I had an extremely mediocre career in college, and if I was 4 inches taller, I'd have played in the NBA for 15 years. I mean, that's how big a difference it is.
Yeah, I've often said if I was 7 inches taller and had a 40 and 41 inches more of a vertical leap, I'd be in the NBA. It's just that short.
It's true though. But I mean,
Just
think about
minus
that.
a few things.
These guys don't do anything to become that. I mean, they don't. You can't do anything. If you did, all of us would have done it. I mean, every kid in Indiana would be 11 feet tall.
Like they say, if it was easy, anybody could do it.
Yeah, no, that's not the thing. It's not a matter of being easy. It's luck. I mean, it's luck that you grow to be that height.
There's that.
And there's nothing you can do to become taller.
Tonight, the Indiana Hoosiers take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights up in Piscataway, a game that early in the season that everybody would have looked at and penciled down as a big old fat W just because of historical purposes, Todd. It's Rutgers. It's a nobody. It's a Big Ten doormat. No longer. Rutgers now won 6 winners of 6 straight games, sitting up near the top. That program is one of many in the Big Ten that is getting turned around. And once again, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to have a test. And tonight, Indiana is going to have a test on their hands.
Yeah, you keep saying they're winners of 6 in a row. They were winners of 6 in a row. They lost to Illinois last weekend, so they're coming off a 1-game losing streak. But they had won 6 in a row prior to that. And a part of that was big. I mean, they beat Wisconsin. They had beaten Seton Hall. They beat Penn State, a ranked Penn State team. So, you know, their whole thing, you know, when you study them and you go look at, you know, what you need to take away from them in order to beat them and, you know, what they're going to try to do to you, man, I mean, they're not overly impressive. They just play hard and they believe on the defensive end that they can stop you. And, you know, that's been Indiana's difficulty is scoring the basketball in a lot of instances. And so this is a team that's built around defense. You know, they're not a run and gun team. They don't shoot the ball very well either. So, I mean, this is that game they had with Illinois the other day was 54-51 was the final. So you can obviously tell they're not running and gunning.
Well, Miles Johnson is the main gun for Rutgers. He's a shot blocker. Down low, he's around the rim a lot. You've got George Baker. He's out with a broken thumb. So right now, Johnson
is he out for sure?
Important.
Is he not going to play for sure?
I think so. I think he's out. So you've got Johnson as their matchup guy down low. So that's the guy that makes it a little easier for Indiana. They've got one guy that they have to focus on down there.
Yeah, I mean Ron Harper Jr. is their leading scorer, and he's the guy that has the ball in his hands a lot. And you know, he's a sophomore. He had a good freshman season. He's coming in as a sophomore and you know, gaining a little bit of confidence. And they have several guys that all. I mean, he's their leading scorer, but only averages 12.2 points. You know, Geo Baker was their next leading scorer, and you know, he didn't play in the last game, and I know he's had that hand injury, so not sure if he will be able to play in this game. But then beyond that, I mean, they've got several guys that average 9 and 8 points. So I mean, they're just a well balanced team that.
If I'm Archie, I go right at Johnson. I sick brunk on him. Try to get him because he's foul prone. Get him to commit some fouls because if that happens, it's over for them. They've got nothing else right now to back up that middle position. And if you turn Indiana loose in the middle, it's going to be lights out, I would think.
Yeah, but they're not like when you say take him out. I mean, what they're going to try to do defensively is pack everything in, and you know, it's not like they're going to be able to throw the ball in 1-on-1 to Joey Brunk or to Trace Jackson Davis and have him, you know, get fouls on, Johnson or Harper or whomever it might be inside. I mean, they're going to double team. They're going to come and take the ball out of their hands. They're going to play from the inside out. They're a good defensive team. I mean, they're smart. They're going to have a defensive scheme in this that tries to get Indiana to beat them from the outside. And truly, it's going to come down to making some shots again. I mean, it's a transition. If Indiana if Indiana's defense can create some offense, it's kind of weird when people say that because, sometimes the games just don't play out that way. I mean, sometimes teams get back really well and you're not able to run, but it doesn't have to be true fast break layups. I mean, Indiana needs to get down and move the ball from side to side early and get an open shot. That open shot might be 17 feet. It might be 24 feet. It might be 6 feet, but they need to get the ball down the floor in a hurry and try to get an early shot off because Rutgers' defense is decent.
Well, and they've got to keep Harper in check. He hasn't done a lot, but he can if you let him get loose. He had 22 points against Penn State, but then he had 9 points and 5 turnovers in the loss to Illinois. He's a versatile. He's a slasher, kind of a streaky shooter. That's just a guy you don't want to let him get off. If they get off, then they could be trouble for the night. But if you get a hand in their face early on and throw a little trouble up to them and things don't go well, that can head in that direction too. So Indiana definitely does not want to let Ron Harper get off onto a good foot.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets some confidence, he plays well from ahead, and he's a big, thick guy. I mean, he's 6'6", 200 and almost 250 pounds, and so he outweighs everybody on Indiana's team except for Joey Brunk and Deron Davis. So he's a big guy that can move and plays. He'll play out on the floor a little bit. He's kind of a matchup problem for Indiana if they're going to play with both of those bigs. And, that's what Indiana has done. So we only assume they're going to continue with that. And it'll be, in that case, that's going to be Trace Jackson Davis guarding him. And he's going to be out on the floor a little bit. You saw, in the game with Ohio State when Indiana, had both bigs in there, somebody was open for wide open 3-pointers. And, whether that was Andre Wesson or Caleb Wesson or, whomever else stepped out on the wing for them, they were open for shots because Indiana's bigs, they don't get out and guard around the 3-point line that well.
They don't spend a lot of time out there around the 3-point line either because they shoot it about as well as Indiana does.
Yeah, right.
As Tim pointed out. So this is not going to be a shootout from that standpoint.
Yeah, if Indiana can get a lead, I mean, Rutgers is also not a team that's, they're not built to come back. I mean, they don't have somebody that's going to go out there and
it's hard to do that 2 points at a time.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to have somebody that goes out there and lights it up and makes 6 threes in a row. But I mean, they're just methodical. I mean, they try to take you out of your stuff. They try to frustrate you. Kids don't like playing that. That's what Virginia was built on all of last year, and that kids don't like playing. Passing the ball around and on offense and getting all the way down inside 5 seconds on the shot clock, and then going down on defense and having to guard another team for 25 seconds. I mean, that's just not what these guys enjoy and are used to. And as fans, I don't really enjoy it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, as bad as Indiana is, Rutgers does not have a single player over 40% from behind the 3-point line. And as a team, they shoot 29% from deep. They're also one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country. So they do a good job sometimes offensively getting to the glass, but they're not capitalizing on that.
I mean, they're built from the inside. They're built defensively. I mean, their whole MO.
How about this? They get 34% of their own missed shots.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's at like 25%. I mean,
Yeah.
That number should be higher. But overall, I mean, with Indiana's athletic ability, that number should be higher. But when you look at Rutgers, I mean, you're not going to look at them on film and be like, oh yeah, this team is really gonna, we're gonna have a tough time stopping this, because offensively they're not impressive. But defense is what they're built on, and defense travels, and defense will win you a lot of games, and especially when you can frustrate another team. And generally good defensive teams are really difficult to beat in their home gym, and so that's where this game is being played, and it'll be a battle. Indiana's going to have to get off to a good start. when I said, Rutgers is not built to come back and play from behind, well, it's really difficult for Indiana to come back from being behind as well, because this is a good defensive team, as I said.
We're going to have to fire our producer, man. We got to get to a break.
He's right on the money. He's right on time.
I'm the one remembering. We've got to get Jordan Hulls on here. He's halfway around the country. We've got to get to a break so we can get Jordan on here, as he is patiently waiting for us and looking forward to talking to him. We got lots more to get to, lots more to talk on Indiana basketball. We've got Matt Weaver joining us today, too. So we've got tons to get to, man. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Tuesday. We're back with more Coy O'Leary right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary here on this Wednesday, January 15th. Another great day. We're halfway through the week, man. It's just flying. This life is just flying by.
This season is flying by. Did you watch any of the games last night? Did you watch? Let me ask you this: what would you rather?
Jake,
we don't have Jordan for a minute, right?
Okay, so I want to make sure.
Okay, so what would you rather be? Would you rather lose to Wisconsin the way Indiana did by 20 plus, or lose on a last-second shot when you have the lead with 10 seconds to go like Maryland did last night?
And that was that at Wisconsin?
It was. But I mean, they had the game basically wrapped up. I mean, they should have, if they get a rebound, if they had, all they had to do was get the ball in bounds and they get fouled. I mean, they had the game wrapped up.
Basically, all you have to do is cover an onside kick, is what you're saying.
Pretty close. Pretty close to that. That's a good reference. But I mean, which feels worse? I mean, they let one totally slip away.
Oh, dude, when you let, as tough as we've talked about, as tough as it is to get a win in the Big Ten on the road, that's just a gut punch.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, before we get too far, we don't get too long because we've got our old friend Jordan Hulls on the line. Jordan, how are you, man? There we go. Jordan, how you doing? Yeah, we're struggling a little bit.
Can anybody else hear? Can anybody else hear him?
But normally
he is in Germany, by the way.
Yeah, normally it's great. I think we got him now. It sounds like he's ordering some German pretzels.
No, yeah, somebody behind me is. I'm at a little cafe with my son.
Hey, Jordan, how you doing, man? Jim Coyle, Todd Leary with you, brother. How's it going?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me. It's a nice day here in Germany, so trying to get my kids outside and expend some energy so we can sleep at night.
Yeah, lots of sauerkraut. Lots of sauerkraut.
How old are the kids now, Jordan?
Yeah, that'll stink up the whole apartment, so we can't do too much of that.
How old are the kids now, Jordan?
Jackson turns 3 next month, and my youngest Leo is 11 months. Almost 10. No, he's 10, almost 11 months.
Yep. Hence the no sleep. Well, now we get it.
Yeah.
Now, you're still in Wurzburg, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's a city where my second son Leo was born, and it's a place that we've come to like a lot. And my oldest Jackson, he goes to Kita here, and he's learning the language, and so it's fun to see his vocabulary, not only in English but understanding German. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's got to be wild to be born in and grow up in a different country.
Does that make Leo a German citizen?
It does not make Leo a German citizen. I think we've read a couple different things. We can't really figure out which is true and which is not. But I think when he turns 18, if we applied for, a German thing, and he'd have to choose between his American passport or German passport. We've been told that. But since his parents, my wife and I, are both Americans, I think it makes it a little bit more difficult for him, even though he was born here.
Hey, Jordan, this is Todd. What's the rule? What's the rule with? Isn't it after you've lived there for 5 years or something that you can become a citizen?
It may have been that way a while ago, but we've been told.
Maybe what he's saying is back in the old days.
Yeah, back 25 years ago when I was over there. Yeah, that's the way it was.
Back in those days. But we, because this is my 4th year in Germany, so I would have to give up my American passport though if I wanted to become a German, have a German passport. So,
but you get free schnitzel. But you get free schnitzel for the rest of your life.
Free schnitzels. I'm good. I'll take the fake ones back home.
Now, when you come home, do you stay the hell away from Jasper, Indiana?
Yeah, any southern Indiana, I try and stay away from all the potato salads, the sauerkrauts, anything really German. I stay away from. But it's actually a cuisine that's not that hard for me to adjust to. I grew up on meat and potatoes, and that's essentially all that we eat here anyway. So it's not a problem for us at all. My kids eat absolutely everything, which is a good thing.
Todd, the last time that Jordan was on with us, he revealed that he has been on the Autobahn. He's tested the limits.
What kind of car What kind of car you got over there, Jordan?
They just give us the team issues cars to everybody, and they just gave us a little Volkswagen I guess a golf is what we have in the States, the equivalent.
Gotcha.
But
I wondered if they gave you anything
to the speed that you need him to get up to.
Yeah. I wondered if they gave you anything you can get out there and get 200 miles an hour on.
They didn't give us that. No, there are teams that have those kind of cars, but I could also just go to a car dealership and put on some nice clothes and act like I'm going to buy a car and test drive a Porsche or something if I wanted
there
to.
You go.
But I haven't done that yet.
So basketball wise, how's your team? How's your team doing?
Doing well. We're in the playoff hunt. We're in 6th place right now. The top 8 go to the playoffs, but we've played more games than everybody. So if let's say this weekend we don't play and someone loses, we could move up to spot number 4. So that's good for us. We're playing well. It's a good group of guys. A lot of guys returning. And it's a really well-respected league here and the first league in Germany. And so it's awesome to be able to still be playing here.
Do you have any other Americans on your team?
Yes, there's 6 of us. Yeah, 6 of us. Here, Luke Fisher, who you guys probably know, he's one of my teammates here. Will Sheehy was with me in the beginning, but he got re-injured and they had to cut that contract, unfortunately. But there's 6 Americans here, which is pretty typical for all the German teams.
Wow. Yeah. So, but this is how long ago I played. Back when I played, they could only have 2, foreign people, so 2 Americans on their team, on every team. Yeah,
and when I played in Poland my first year, we could have 6 Americans, but on the court during the game, you could only have 3 playing at a time. So there's depending on what country you play in, there are different rules like that for sure. But it has gotten, I guess, more Americans can be on the team the last couple, I'd say last 10 years.
How far through the season are you? Like, when did the playoffs start?
Playoffs won't start until end of May, first week of May, I think.
Gotcha.
But we're halfway through our season right now. The schedule's kind of been a little weird. We played like 3 games in a week and a half, but now we're only going to play 4 games in 2 months. So there's teams that play internationally, so you have to try and manage their schedules with the opponent's schedules and whatever. Right. So it makes it a little bit more difficult or odd this year. So, but yeah, we have 1 more game, and then that'll be halfway, and then May 1st is the last regular season game. Then after that, the playoffs will start.
Do you get to follow, basketball back here, like through the internet and stuff like that? Can you watch IU games?
Yeah, for sure. I try and follow as much as I can, whether that's sports, news, whatever it is. I have, VPNs and stuff where I can get on my parents' TV box and look at all the channels and do all that kind of stuff. The time difference is the only issue. If IU plays at 8 o'clock at night, I'm probably not going to stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning to watch the game. I can watch the highlights and check the box scores and stuff like that. So that's really how I keep up. But weekend games are nice if I can watch them, and it's a noon game for you guys. It's 6 o'clock for me, and so I'm able to watch that.
Yeah, and I know it's hard to do because we talk to a lot of guys that are overseas, and you seem to probably be more in tune and in touch with many of them, and I think that's a lot to do with where you are. It's a little more Americanized, I guess, where you are, but it's not the same, man. It's rough being. I don't know that people understand. It's rough being gone out of the country for as long as a period as you are from your family and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thank goodness for my wife. She's here. She's my support system with my 2 kids. She keeps us going and stuff like that, but it doesn't make it any easier. We for sure miss our friends and family back home, and 10, 11 months is a long time to be gone. We have our own little life over here. Then when we get back in the summertime, it's great. We get to eat all the Buffaloes and Village Deli and all those things that we want when we're back in Bloomington. But it's definitely difficult being far away, and it is just completely different lifestyle. Even if it is Americanized, it's just culture is different. But like I said, we don't take it for granted. We're very fortunate to be able to experience that, and especially for our kids, it's pretty cool to be able to say that as they grow up.
How long do you expect? How long do you see yourself playing?
You took it right out of my mouth. That's exactly where I was going next.
I mean, I'd love to play until the wheels fall off. You know, I turned 30 in April. I'm still playing really good basketball. I feel good. You know, a few aches and pains here and there. But other than that, you know, just I don't jump very high, so I don't have to worry about that. I can just shoot threes. Those are worth more anyway. And as long as they keep falling, then I'll keep playing. And as long as people keep paying me to be over here, you know,
Yep.
and my family feels comfortable and my wife's okay with it, and I feel safe, and my kids are gonna, you know, have a great time. You know, those kind of things off the court are just as important to me as just what's going on the court. So as long as they're happy, then I'm happy, and I'll play as long as I can.
Yeah, it's got to be just a cool experience. We talked about growing up in another country, but it's got to be as a kid. It's just got to be cool because when you're a kid, you're just dumber than heck anyway. You don't know anything, so you don't know where you are, and it's just a neat experience that they'll be able to look back on later as much as it is now.
Exactly, yeah. And like he goes to his German kindergarten, and all he hears there is German, and you know he's taking that all in, and it's a different way of how they do things at the school, and you know just the procedures, and then just the living. You know, everything's closed on Sundays here. We cook a lot at home when we're over here, and obviously you can go to there's really nice restaurants and stuff like that, but just the lifestyle that we live is very cool, and kind of how I grew up anyway, just a lot of home cooked meals and being around family and stuff. But we're far away from my family for sure, but I think it's really cool for us as a family to experience that.
Absolutely. And then when you come back, I know you don't have a lot of time when you come back, but you try to do a lot of things here when you are. You guys have the basketball camp, and you do a lot of community-oriented type things.
Yeah, for sure. The summertime they're very busy. We enjoy our time with friends and family, but there's also, like you said, my camps, and then our Never Lose Hoop Foundation. We try to get a event going for that, however we can raise money for that. And then, we travel around doing different basketball tournaments for Adidas and camps, and we're kind of all over the place. But I'd prefer it that way. It's nice to settle down sometimes, but when we're back home, it's also fun to travel around and, like I said, be around just our friends and family, and we try and take as much advantage of that as we can.
You know, having a sharpshooter on staff, like having Todd Leary here, they get a lot of fans talking about the old days and how guys used to shoot the ball so much better. And that's the same for your era. Back when you were playing, there was a group, you and Sheehy and those guys, that could just knock the lights out. And not so much today. The players in general are not shooting the ball as well. But then you see Indiana, when they struggle at the free throw line like that, it's so disheartening. But what's the difference between now and then? Or do they simply just not have the shooters that they need on the team?
Yeah, I mean, there's for sure shooters out there and guys who that's all they're known for is shooting. You know, it's still a key part of the game. It is kind of interesting to think about that, how it just changed like that. But it's just kind of guys, you know, I'm not as strong or as athletic as a lot of guys, but, you know, I'm going to be able to shoot the ball better than most other people. But that's what I knew what I needed to do in order to be productive at the next level. So it is interesting to see that. And, you know, shooting it takes a lot of hard work. If kids can just get by when they grow up, just being more athletic and taller and just blow past people, then they've never really had the desire to, you know, work on shooting, I guess. You know, I'm just speaking in general if that's the case, but I can't tell you what the thing is or why it is the way it is now. In this day and age with the game, you know, there's a lot of volume shooters, I think, too. Guys who just chuck it up and go chase it down. Don't worry about efficiency as much, is what it seems like. But, you know, it is interesting.
Yeah, and both Todd and you are in the same situation. When you're overseas, over there with family, do you find that actually makes it a little easier to have family there because it kind of settles you down, keeps you rooted down a little bit, and keeps you from being out in the bars and all that kind of craziness?
Yeah, for sure. It's, you know, my first 2 years, I was by myself and things like that. My wife was my fiance at that time, but having a family here definitely gives you a sense of home, first off, but you're just not alone. You know, it's very lonely if you're over here by yourself because you go to practice, you come home, sleep, maybe go to your next practice later in the day, eat, and then do it all over again for 10 months straight. You know, it's kind of interesting when it's just you by yourself. But having my family here, it means the world to me, and I definitely can't do it without them. I did when I was my first year in Germany, I was over here, and my wife was pregnant with Jackson back home, and that was very difficult because I missed out on all that kind of stuff with her. But not having her here was, you know, not fun, not fun,
Right.
But it was for the best. And
Are there any? Hey,
great.
are there any other countries that you have played in, or you've seen guys play in, or heard from some other teammates that you want to go play?
Say that one more time. You cut out a sec.
Are there any other countries that either your teammates have played in or that you've traveled to and visited to that you think would be a good place or a good fit for you to go play?
Yeah, especially now with my family, it's you know, a little bit different of where I like to play. Spain would obviously, the weather would be awesome there.
Right.
Italy's a cool place. France, you know, those kind of things. The guys that I've talked with have all enjoyed those places. You have your pros and cons with every place, though. You know, Germany's been great for us, family-wise, off the court, and basketball-wise, it's one of the more respected leagues in Europe, and great competition. You know, I like to compete at this level and stuff here, so it's been great. It's hard for me. Like, the other leagues I played in have been okay, but this has by far been the best for me personally.
Awesome.
Yeah, got to be a fun time, man. Well, I know that you're busy and we don't want to take up a ton of your time. You don't have a lot of that with the family and whatnot, and you've been so generous, and you're always generous with us. We appreciate it. What do you guys got coming up from a season standpoint from your team? You guys are still early on right now in the season right now, right?
Yeah, correct. We're about halfway through. So for us, we just have a couple games coming up that are big, but you know, as long as we keep winning games, our goal is to make the playoffs and then make some noise in the playoffs. So once we get there, that's kind of our goal, taking it one game at a time right now. And but for us as a season, that's about all that's going on.
And are you getting a chance to follow Indiana, the Hoosiers?
I didn't get to watch. I had to go watch our farm team game the other day when they were playing Ohio State. I unfortunately didn't get to watch that game, but I've been keeping up, of course, and it's great to see they're winning, and you know, that was a huge win for us last game. Hopefully, we can close out some other big games on the road in the Big Ten. For sure is going to be huge for us to steal another game like that would be awesome on the road. Especially, seems like everybody's losing on the road in the Big Ten, or at least from what I've been reading. I could be wrong about that, but
no, it's a tough place to play, man. It is definitely a tough place to play. Well, Jordan, we can't thank you enough. As always, we greatly appreciate your time. Appreciate the family. Tell them we said hello, and lots of schnitzelbank and happy sauerkraut and everything else that goes along with that, man. But we look forward to doing it again. We'll get you back on here after the season progresses a little bit and check back in with you again.
Would love that. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. And I'll be sure to tell my little guys that you guys say hello. And as always, I appreciate your time.
See you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
All right.
There's Jordan Holds, another in a long line of great sharpshooters in Indiana basketball history over in Germany, spending going about his daily life over there, Todd.
Yep.
Just like, I mean, you heard that was a real clip. That's real life. That's the family in the background. They're out probably, and seriously, you're out at the mall. You're having to do some family stuff to get some family time in. I mean, that's really his real life right there.
Yep. Yeah, I think we got to get to a break, but let's catch up on it when we get back. Absolutely.
We've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle O'Leary from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, Located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway, Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary here on this Wednesday, January 15th. My goodness gracious, I cannot believe we're halfway through the month of January, Todd.
I know it. It's flying by. We talked about how fast all of 2019 went, and 2020 has started the same fashion.
How about this? How about Clemson? What a week it's been for them. Last week, they get their first victory over North Carolina in 60 attempts. They were 0-59. 0-59 against North Carolina.
I get it, but there should be an asterisk by it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They knock off the Tar Heels. Then they win the national championship in football. Then they host the Duke Blue Devils, the number 3 Blue.
What are you talking about? Which game did you watch? They lost the national championship in football.
Yeah, I said they host the national championship. Anyway, they're playing for the national championship. Then they host Duke, and they beat the Duke Blue Devils 79-72. So
it's been a good week for them, no doubt about that. I mean, that athletic program has got it rolling. But you know, they did play very well against. I don't mean to take away from the fact that they won at North Carolina for the first time ever, but they did play very well against Duke, and you know they're a good team. But that win at North Carolina, I guess I will put an asterisk by it because North Carolina's terrible. Like they have lost so many players to injury, and they didn't start out to being that great to begin with.
Right on. Pittsburgh almost gets one at Louisville, at home against Louisville, but the Cardinals win that one in overtime, 73-68. LSU also squeaks by Texas A&M in overtime. So a lot of close games, man. It's getting fun. The season's getting fun. Dayton, they keep winning. They're number 13. They beat VCU.
That's a good VCU team too. So that's a good win for
VCU. Was 11.5-point favorite in that game over number 13 Dayton. And Dayton,
No, they weren't.
Well, that's what it says, but or it says VCU was minus 115. But anyway, Dayton having a good season for them. They're 13th ranked right now. Texas Tech, they're rolling right now. Chris Beard, he's got them back where they were. The 77-63 win over Kansas State last night. Northwestern could not hold serve at court. That is the only place in the Big Ten that you're expected to win on the road. And you should damn sure win if you go to Northwestern. I hate to be Northwestern, to be the Big Ten punching bag, but that is where they are. Iowa gets it done last night. They were a 5.5-point favorite. They win 75-62 up in, where they are up there. What's that town?
Evanston.
Yes, Evanston,
Illinois.
Exactly.
Yeah, Northwestern is. Yeah, they're used to being that, so that's not surprising.
But really, you're right. They are. But this year they are without question the dirtbag, get off my feet, dog crap off your feet, worst in the league. It's not even close. They are it.
Well, they're the team that teams need to get right against, unfortunately, and. Indiana played them once. That Indiana doesn't go to Evanston, so that's one of the games that Indiana won't have that opportunity to go there and get a road win. They're going to need to steal one at a place like Rutgers, like they have today. And Maryland had just an unbelievable opportunity last night at Wisconsin. I mean, they had that game won, and couldn't get the ball in bounds in the last 15 seconds, and ended up getting beat on a last second 3-pointer by Brad Davidson.
Just got to, as a coach, just got to just make you pull your hair out, because as hard as it is, as hard as any game in the Big Ten is, but a road game in the Big Ten against a team that has been playing well, like in Wisconsin, and to have that chance to get that win, that would have just been big. But how about Wisconsin? You got to take your hat off to them. Their resume is shaped up already. They look pretty good.
I mean, they have some good wins. That's I guess that's the good side of them. They have some good wins. They just have some really bad losses. I mean, they just.
That's the beginning of the season, though. Their season is turned around, and it's how they're playing now, and the way they're playing now. It's that the beginning. Those losses from the beginning of the season, they're kind of forgotten.
They lost at home to Illinois just a week ago. So I mean, that's
Illinois is a tournament team.
Loss, though.
That's not Illinois is a tournament team.
At home, that's a bad loss.
Nah, I disagree. If you lose, it's a tournament team. They're going to Illinois is a team that is going to make the NCAA tournament. So, I mean, you don't want to lose at home, of course, but it's.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, you can't say like they're really on a roll and they're playing great, because they lost at home to Illinois. So that kind of stymies that a little bit.
Well, they're not going to go undefeated.
They backed it up with a great win at Penn State. So that you look at them overall. I don't disagree with you in the fact that they have had some really good wins. They really have. But I also wouldn't put them in a category of super surprising. They're 11-6 overall. I mean, they're not. It's not like they have 2 losses or anything crazy. I mean, Indiana's record is insanely better than theirs.
Tonight, after the game with Todd Leary, IU taking on Rutgers, live from Yogi's, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated and, of course, by Remax Acclaimed Properties, Henry Nethery, as well as Cook and Son Lumberyard. Make sure that if you're out and about, you can stop by Yogi's. That should commence approximately around 9-ish, as we have a 7 o'clock tip, Indiana on the road up in Piscataway, New Jersey. Coyle Leary not on the road in Bloomington. Yogi's after the game.
7 Eastern, 6 Central.
There you go.
Mind you.
There you go. For
some
those of you,
some of us don't live in the Eastern time zone.
Some should. But absolutely, Indiana plays tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time, 6 Central. Who's doing that game?
Do not know what.
That's probably a Big Ten game. I'm sure Big Ten Network. Tim said like to see.
Yep, it is. Tim said what?
Clemson storms the court after beating Duke. Well, you should. What a weekend it's been for him. When is Jordan coming home for good? You know what? That's a question that I wanted to ask, and I meant to ask.
I did ask. He didn't say. He said he was going to play as long as he could.
There you go. Perfect.
I mean, which is the answer. If he hadn't said that, I would have given him the advice to play as long as you can.
And and he said like to see him come home and coach. That's what's next for him. That's in their family DNA. I mean, you can just tell basketball is the Hulls family. It's what they do. And I can't imagine him not coaching or being involved in Adidas or something like that when he comes home.
Agree.
So are you guys coming to Bubba's 33 Saturday for the Nebraska game? No, possibly. Good call. Nebraska, that's going to be a tough one. But we're going to wait till tomorrow to start talking about that.
Let's focus on Rutgers now.
Tonight it's Rutgers, Indiana. Man, back in the day, you wouldn't even think twice about going to Rutgers and Indiana winning this game.
Back in the day, I didn't think twice about going to Wisconsin or anywhere, a lot of these other schools either. I mean, it's a different team. I mean, but let's look at this in reality the way that it really is. If Indiana is going to compete for the Big Ten title, this is a game you've got to win. And, I'm not saying it's make or break or life or death on this one. I'm just saying this is a game that they need to win if they're going to win the Big Ten. This is a game they should win. They're a better team. They've got better players. They're coached better. They should win this game. Now, it's on the road, and every team across the country is proving right now how difficult that is to go on the road and win. So it's going to be a difficult game. That's it. As all the road games are going to be. You're right. Saturday is going to be another one. But this one right now, if they focus one game at a time and look at what's at hand in front of them, this is a beatable Rutgers team that they're going in and playing.
I believe this is the only Big Ten game tonight, is it not?
It is not. There's one more. Penn State is at Minnesota.
Penn State is at Minnesota.
Yep. There's another good game tonight. Seton Hall's at Butler. I'll tell you what, I've watched Butler play a couple of times. They are good. Defensively, they're probably the best team. They're Virginia defensively.
Minnesota, coming off of a win over Maryland? Was it Maryland they beat at home? Minnesota's a 2-point underdog at home to Penn State.
They're a 2-point favorite, 2.5-point favorite tonight at home against Penn State.
At home against Penn State.
2.5-point favorite. Where would you put it? I mean, I would have said it the way you did. I would have probably said Penn State was the favorite, but they're not.
That just shows you how incredible this league is. Penn State sitting there at 12-4, Minnesota 9-7. Yet Minnesota's the favorite because they're at home.
Yep, that's the way that it is. I mean, they've got a tour. I mean, they've got one of the best players in the Big Ten at Minnesota. They're coming off that big win against Michigan last weekend, and they looked good against Michigan. Turu is a good guy, is a good player, and he gets his points and scores every night. And when they make shots, they're very difficult to beat. And that Cracker Box barn they play in up there is cold, and it just is. It's a difficult place to go play.
The Relevance Championship is tonight.
What's that?
Evansville travels to Indiana State to take on the Sycamores.
That is
Indiana State is a 10.5-point favorite over Evansville.
Yeah, Evansville has struggled ever since they had some issues with the coaching staff. Yeah,
issues. We haven't heard a lot about
Cooper Neese for Indiana State, former Indiana Faith AAU player of ours. We'll have a big night for Indiana State.
Yeah, Kobe Barnes on there from Floyd Central.
Yeah, he is a good player. I remember him too.
But not a lot going on as far as the Big Ten goes tonight. Not a lot going on. You've got two games.
Yeah, that's because the Big Ten has adapted that Friday night games that we don't like. So they used to have a couple more games squeezed into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week, but now they hold a couple of them out for that Friday night game.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
Not a fan of that
at all.
I don't like going to it. I don't like watching them.
Hey, make sure you pick up after the game with Todd Leary tomorrow night. IU takes on Rutgers, of course. Tip is at 7:00, which means we will be on around 9 thereabouts after the game with Todd Leary on Facebook Live, of course, is where you can find us. As you know that, you know where to find us because you do such a great job of it, and we really appreciate it. We appreciate all the fans. Appreciate everybody hitting us up on the text line so far today. We got plenty more. Roger's doing so right now from Evansville. Does playing on a court that is elevated make a difference? There's a good question, and we're going to get to that when we come back. So we stay tuned. We got plenty more coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Speed with Coyle Larry back right after this.
No need to be too late because I'm gonna.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Whoa, stop your train.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Larry here on this Wednesday, January 15. Hope your week is going in the right direction. If not, we just shoved it over the hump for you. We're on the right side heading down the hill. You feel that way, Todd?
No, not till later in the day. Gotta get the hump day. Hump day doesn't really get over the hump till after like 3 o'clock, does it?
Didn't kick him hard enough, Jake. Didn't kick him hard enough. Indiana back on the court tonight. You know what that means? We're back at it as well at Yogi's, live from Yogi's after the game with Todd Leary coming to you. Indiana takes on Rutgers. As soon as the game's over, you know where to find it. We appreciate you guys. After last Indiana's game against Ohio State, Todd, the confidence that it gave them was immeasurable, I think. And I think was so needed as they head to a game like this that is tough but winnable. And now they need that confidence. They need, in order to be able to win on the road, they need to win on the road. They need to get that win, to get that confidence, and to get that understanding of it's tougher than you think. You're not putting in enough effort. You have to put in even more effort. It's just tough on the road to get a win in this league. And I don't think they've learned how tough it is just yet.
Well, I mean, they've taken some beatings, so they've hopefully learned a little bit of a lesson. I think the scary part, I don't know if scary is the right word, but the Indiana fans' anxiety comes from you're not really sure which team's going to show up, and I think the Ohio State win. The thing I enjoyed the most about it was the fact that they didn't do anything offensively that kind of was a flukish or something they can't repeat. They can definitely improve from the free throw line. They only made 6 3-pointers in the game, so that's something that's repeatable. They didn't do anything that's out of the ordinary for them, and it's something that can travel with them. I think the effort is the issue that hopefully they learned out of that, and they played hard defensively, and they made it very difficult for Ohio State to score. And Ohio State's a good offensive team, and so when you can, Ohio State's a way better offensive team than Rutgers is. So when they can make it that difficult for Ohio State to score, they could really make it difficult for Rutgers to score the basketball tonight. And so that's the anxious part that we all sit here and await to see. They've not gone on the road and played with an enormous amount of energy, and they did at home, which is easier to do with the crowd behind them last Saturday, and hopefully they can take that on the road tonight. But that's what we're all waiting to see.
Absolutely, and waiting to see some of these younger guys, even Trace Jackson Davis, continue to grow up. Because that's what they have to do this entire season. Trace Jackson Davis is going to be growing and learning. He's a freshman, and he's a freshman at the Division I college level now. This is not high school anymore, and so he's got things to learn. As good as he looks, as well as he's played, and he has played well, he's got a lot to learn to continue to get better, to continue to make this team better. And the same for Armand Franklin. He's got to continue to get better as well. So next year they can be just much, much better, obviously. But if this team wants to succeed at the end of this season, they've got to learn and improve right now.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they have got some key pieces, and that's why I've been telling you for a while. That's why I have them at such a high ceiling, because they've got some key pieces. They've got a really good scorer in Devontae Green. They've got some good guard play in Rob Finney and Al Durham and Armand Franklin, and they've got a good big guy in Trace Jackson Davis, and Joey Brunk has played really well and been a surprise and played well, and they've got some good wing players, and Justin Smith has had just some terrific moments this season. Derace Thompson has come in and shown that he can contribute while he's in there, in whether it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes, and so they've got the pieces. Trace Jackson Davis is probably the difference between whether they can be, final Elite 8 / Final 4 great, or whether they can just make the tournament and be happy with that great. Because Trace Jackson Davis is a difference maker. He has struggled in the Big Ten games. I mean, I don't think there's any argument that he's not played as well in the Big Ten games as what he played in some of the other games. So his improvement is something Indiana can really build on and look forward to making them that much better.
Roger asked this question earlier. Does playing on a court that's elevated make any difference to you?
No.
Is it something you even notice at all once you're on the court?
Nope. Once the game's going on, it's not. You don't even notice it.
Tim texts in, says, "You think Archie wishes he was still at Dayton?" ? I doubt it. So
Nope.
Are you guys coming to Bubba's? What are your guys' thoughts on why it's so hard to win on the road? That's actually a good question. Why is it so hard to win on the road, no matter where we're talking about in the Big Ten?
Yeah, and so when we think about it, it's almost like we have amnesia and we forget the fact that it was really difficult to win on the road last year and 25 years ago and 30 years ago. That was one of the things that kind of separated Indiana apart. Is Coach Knight kind of eliminated that thought process from Hoosier fans' minds because he wouldn't let it become a factor, and it was still more difficult to win on the road. I mean, you get the crowd. We talk about all the time that confidence and momentum, how important that is to an individual and how important it is to a team, and it's hard to have a ton of momentum when the other team is cheering against you the whole time. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving the facts of you can build on when people are getting excited for things that you do well. It makes you run a little faster and jump a little higher and, do things a little bit better and a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. And, when it's the opposite of that and everything that you do, you score a basket and the place falls silent. It's a lot different than if you score a basket and the place goes crazy. So it's just that fact of it. Now, if you eliminate that side of it and mentally you look past all that and you're thinking about it from the standpoint of, hey, look, the basket's the same height, the floor is the same width and same length. It's technically it's not really any different. If you eliminate the crowd from it and the fact of, shooting in that with those sight lines, I mean, that sometimes is a little bit of a factor, but I don't think there's any gyms or any arenas in the Big Ten that have unusual sight lines or anything in them. So I don't really think that there's, technically there shouldn't be that big of a difference. Everything revolves around, the crowd noise and the excitement level and how much the other team feeds off of their crowd. I choke you up.
Yes. Roger wants to know, what do you think about the officiating in the Big Ten? I don't think the officiating in the Big Ten is any different than anywhere else. I think it kind of sucks a lot. You can look at the NFL, it doesn't matter. We see some really bad plays, and I think instant replay is a big part of that because, they either know they can either rely on it or they're afraid that they're going to get busted for making a bad call.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the opposite of what a lot of people are. I mean, a lot of people say they don't like instant replay and it slows the game down and all that. I disagree. I mean, when you've been hosed over by a call so many times, I'm all for instant replay. I don't care how long it takes for them to get it right. But referees in the Big Ten to answer the question, I don't think are any different than anywhere else. Actually, you see a lot of referees that are doing Big Ten games. I saw them doing an ACC game last night, and you'll see them doing Big East and other conferences as well. So they're kind of commingled with all the different conferences. But my issue with the refereeing industry in general is the fact that they're not held accountable for, at least it sure doesn't appear they're held accountable for when they make a lot of mistakes. And that's where I think, when guys make mistakes and miss calls, I feel like they should be docked games. I don't care if it's publicized or not. But I'll see a guy blow calls in a Big Ten game on Tuesday night, and on Wednesday night I'll see him doing a Big 12 game or an ACC game or something like that. I mean, there's no accountability for when they have bad games and have bad days. But for the most part, it's a tough job. I mean,
it is. It's a terribly tough job, no doubt about that. But they aren't. There is no consequence. There are no consequences for these guys. Coaches are not allowed to call them out, or they get fined. They're not held accountable. And if people don't complain and bitch about it enough, nothing happens. And that's the greatest job in the world you can have. If you can make a mistake,
what they're going to say, what the head of the referees commission, I don't even know what it would be called, but what the people that oversee them will say is, well, they're graded on every performance that they make throughout the year, and then that determines whether they get to do postseason games or, the NCAA tournament games or Final Fours and who gets to go and do those. That is the biggest bunch of malarkey I've ever seen in my life, because if that were the case, there isn't a chance in the world Ted Valentine would ever do any postseason game. And now they'll say, oh, well, he doesn't. Watch, you won't see him out there this year. Yeah, but I've seen him out there for the last 30 years, and he shouldn't have been, because there is no way in the world you could tell me that guy ranks in the top, whatever percent you would need to be. There isn't a coach in the world that would tell you Ted Valentine is good for the game. And I'll call him out singly. I will definitely call him out, because he is a person that seeks the limelight. No one goes to review more than him. I mean, they call him TV Ted for a reason, and everybody calls him that, not just IU fans or not just me. Everybody calls him that. He is a guy who seeks the limelight, so I'll use his name on the radio and say that he's a guy that wants the attention, and I'll give him the attention, and I will tell him he is not good at his job, and he is bad for other referees in general. He gives them all a bad name. They should all dislike him. He's that bad. Yeah, you want to get me started on that again?
Well, no, there's no doubt. I mean, we can go back to the Duke game that
you can, but when you do that, you sound like you're just bitter about that. I'm telling you,
no, that's just where it starts.
When he turned his back on the player, I think it was a North Carolina player.
It was
maybe 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. That how he could ever do a game after that makes no sense to me. There's plenty of good referees that they could put up there in those positions. That he should have never gotten to do a game after that. Never.
Well, he doesn't do games in the Big Ten anymore, I believe.
Yeah, but you see him every week. Like turn it on this weekend, he'll be doing a game, guaranteed fact. What league should allow that then? I mean, when he did that, it wasn't in the Big Ten, it was an ACC game.
No, I understand.
It should never happen.
You're not getting an argument from me. I know. I don't think he's very good. I think he's horrible for the game. It's one of those instances where people think that they're more important than the game, or they're a part of the game, but they're only a part of it by happenstance. But yet they feel forced to inject themselves into the game with theatrics on the foul calls and all that stuff. Just call the damn foul and go on.
Well, here's the thing: some of the best refereed games or officiated games are games that you couldn't even remember after the game was over who was officiating it. And the fact that we almost always know when TV Ted's doing a game tells you enough that tells you enough right there that he's making himself too big a part of the spectacle.
I can't disagree with you, man. I have nothing to disagree about. I agree with you wholeheartly.
It's because I'm right. I know, I'm just messing with you.
You certainly are on this circumstance. Absolutely. Could not disagree. Could not agree with you more there. Indiana women's team, man, we've talked about them. What a season they've had so far. Golly, I still can't get over that tough loss to Iowa on the road. Iowa had won 29 straight, I think, but they had that game. In the fourth quarter, they had the game, and I got to give it up to Iowa for storming back, and then Indiana for fighting back and forth, and they fought them. Iowa came back and made the charge, and they could have folded at that point, but Indiana did not, and they fought through 2 overtimes. Hate to see them lose that game, man. That would have been – you talk about a feather in your cap.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they've won 29 in a row, and they proved it. So it's just, that's a difficult one. That's a lot like what I talked about with Maryland at Wisconsin last night in the men's side. I mean, they had the game won, and it's so difficult to get those road games, and they let it slip away. And that's one that if they don't win the Big Ten outright at the end of the year, that's one they'll look back on and regret.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'd say a lot of people are going to lose in that place. So,
yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I think that, man, I don't know that a Big Ten championship is something that they really were thinking about at the beginning of the season, because that's not talk that I had heard from anybody. But that has become real, and it has become real fast for these Indiana women's team, and congratulations to them. There we go. All right, let's take it a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. Get us caught up on a little football news. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary. We're back with more at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Speed here on this Wednesday. It's Hump Day, of course, and it's dreamy because we've got the Dream Weaver. Matt Weaver, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I can't complain. We're just lamenting the loss of college football now. It's over, man. It's done for the year until spring football comes around.
Yeah, it's it's not that far off, but it kind of seems like a long way off since the season just ended, and it's kind of tough knowing there's no games on the horizon. But I guess everybody needs an off season, so it's here for us.
Yeah, the good thing about going to a bowl game like Indiana did this year, especially one that's in January, that pushes everything out. You got practice that lasts longer. You've got just the thought, the fact that you're talking about it lasts longer. It just pushes everything out. And then spring's not that far away. So it really shortens the season up for those teams that participate in bowl games year in and year out.
Yeah, it's kind of nice in that sense. I mean, just because you don't have to, there's not such a long wait from, the end of November until we have the signing day, but then there's really no football for, obviously quite a bit longer. So it's kind of nice. I mean, it does shorten the off season, I guess, but to me, I kind of like it. It's not as much downtime, not as much dead time. It keeps you a little bit more busy, but I can get used to the January 1st bowl games going forward.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to do that, especially if you're heading south to Florida. Which, I had Kalen DeBoer on the program yesterday, and he's out getting his new job underway as the head coach of Fresno State. But he's really high on Nick Sheridan, and Nick Sheridan's been around the game for a while, man. He's one of those coaches' sons, kind of a people, and comes through a Michigan program, so he's got a lot of football in his DNA.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I actually talked to Josh Dobbs this week, the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and obviously had a great career at Tennessee with Coach Sheridan. He was a GA there, but he was basically, for all intents and purposes, the quarterback coach. And I think he said it best, because I kind of asked him. I said, what do you say to fans? You say he's too young. He's only 31. And he said, well, age is just a number. If you can do the job, it doesn't matter how old you are. And he has a lot of faith and a lot of confidence in him, and he raved about the job that Coach Sheridan. This is when Coach Sheridan was about 26 years old, so he's had more experience since then. And it was really kind of interesting to hear his comments, and I'll have a story out on that this week. But the more I thought about it, it makes sense. I'm not comparing him to some of these other guys, but you see a guy like Lincoln Riley was hired by Oklahoma at a very young age and turned the program over to him. And not in any way saying that's what is going to happen with Nick Sheridan, but going the young coordinator route is not something that's just an Indiana thing. It's kind of going all over the country. I mean, Graham Harrell out at USC, was not a very experienced guy, and Charlie Weiss Jr. You can go on Rhett Lashley. There's a lot of guys who are at a young age are getting the keys to an offense, and I think he's going to do a good job. I'm sure there'll be some speed bumps and some bumps in the road and some adversity, as there is with everybody. But I think they got a good staff. I think he's a bright guy. I've said that all along, and the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Like I said last week, I kind of wonder why they didn't do it right away. But maybe Coach Allen wanted to just focus on the bowl game and not worry about this, and then turn his attention to this hire after the season was officially over. So, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about the offense going forward.
Well, he's certainly going to have the tools to work with next year, as he's got everybody back on offense. So there'll probably be a little more pressure on him to perform with all those tools back. But to me, the biggest hire came in getting Kevin Wright from IMG Academy. I mean, that you talk about really exemplifying your Florida connections. That really goes a long way in doing that and a lot more.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit of experience in college. He coached for a couple of years. Now, it's been a while at Western Kentucky. He was there when David Elson, who was a former IU staff member, was the head coach there about 14 or 15, 12 years ago. I can't remember, like 2006, 7, something like that. So he's got a little bit of experience. But what he does have, I mean, IMG is almost like a small college. I mean, it's technically, high school. They play other high school teams, but it's almost like small college. They recruit nationally. They play schools from all over the country. Their facilities are definitely better than basically any high school out there. And it's big time. So he's got the connections there. Obviously, he was just incredibly successful at Warren Central and Carmel when he was the coach up here. His dad is, the all-time wins leader, Bud Wright up at Sheridan. They got deep ties in this state. He's, like I say, he's recruited nationally. He's definitely got ties down in Florida and that part of the country when he was at IMG. I mean, if you could just get one or two players from IMG every year, that right there would be worth his weight in his contract. So. And then he's a heck of a coach, and I think he's going to do a good job. And I think it's a really great hire by Tom Allen, really forward-thinking hire by him. And this is the kind of things that these are the kind of hires that they kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but they end up really paying off big time. And I think that's going to be the case with adding Kevin Wright to the staff.
Yeah, that's the one that really just jumped out at me because of what that does for the future. As far as continuing the recruiting run that they had been on, because those first 2 years he did a really, really good job. This past class was just smaller by nature, not a lot of hits in there, a couple, but they've got to get back to where those recruiting classes, they have to stay to where they're good year in and year out for a team like Indiana or a program like Indiana to get up and stay up with the Michigan States of the world.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you just can't really afford to have any dips. I mean, I don't think they've really had. I mean, by rankings, they've had a little bit of a dip, but like you said, it was going to be a smaller class. I think overall this is a solid class that's met a lot of their needs. There's some guys in this class that I think will come in and play right away. Not as many as maybe in past years, just because you got such a young team. There's just not a lot of open spots in the 2 deep. And any of those spots that are open, I think you got some redshirt freshmen and some younger guys who will be first in line, and I think will take hold of those. But I think there's still some guys. You look at Rashard Williams, the receiver, and obviously Dylan Powell coming in. You got some guys like that who have a real chance to come in and play right away. So, but yeah, you're right. In this past year, they didn't get a ton of guys. Well, right now they don't have anybody signed. I don't believe from the state of Florida. Jalen Williams is still committed, but he hasn't signed. And with William Inge moving on, you lose a recruiter in Florida. So Kevin Wright could probably kind of slide in and take his place and recruit that central part of the state and pick up where he left off. So, like I said, like you said, it's a really, really, impressive hire in addition to the staff.
Nothing to do with Indiana, but it just happened. So guys, we'll talk about it. Missouri State hiring Bobby Petrino.
Yeah, I think it was Bruce Feldman who said it best. He said, "I hope Missouri State has a Scott Satterfield to come in after Bobby Petrino guts the program." So, like what Satterfield did at Louisville this year, a team that 2 years ago Louisville they couldn't beat anybody, they were awful, and then Satterfield turns around, and takes them to a bowl game. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you want to kind of make a splash, it makes sense on that part of it, but I can't believe there's not some young or kind of up and coming coach that Missouri State could hire that would jump at that job to lead a program. I don't get hiring this guy, but it is what it is. I don't.
It sure is, man. It sure is. Well, I appreciate you joining us as always. I know it's a slow time of the season. Things kind of slow down. We get down to recruiting. When's the next recruiting signing period? In February?
Yeah, it's the first Wednesday in February, and I apologize, I can't remember the exact date, but it's always the first Wednesday in February. I think it's like maybe the 5th or the 6th, right around that time. So there'll be there's no visitors this weekend. They can have official visitors not coming in the next 2 weekends. They will. Got a big junior day on the 26th. So, that'll be interesting. They got some good names already lined up. So recruiting's starting to pick back up again.
Looking forward to it, man, Matt. I cannot thank you enough. We appreciate you as always.
Okay. Take care, guys. Have a good week.
You betcha. There's Matt Weaver from Peaks.com talking about some college football, joining us as always. We've got a lot more to talk to. How about that? Bobby Petrino getting hired. They paid him $14 million to leave, Todd. $14 million to say bye. Louisville did. So, oh well. You're muted, by the way. But yeah, that's gonna.
I didn't have anything good to say about that anyway.
I wish somebody would pay me $14 million to leave.
Made no sense.
I would certainly do it. Hey, we got more to wrap up when we come back. We'll finish out the show. Todd's got lots more to say. He always does. I can tell by the look on his face.
Of course I do.
The Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, where it's going down. Coyle O'Leary here on Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dawkins.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Like a setting sun.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Larry with you here on this Wednesday. Thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate you coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It's game day. Indiana on the road at Piscataway, New Jersey to take on the Scarlet Knights. Rutgers University. Indiana looking to continue some solid play in the Big Ten, coming off of a positive win over Ohio State. Ohio State gets back on the winning side last night. Did you notice that, Todd?
I did. I watched the game. They had a couple suspensions on their team yesterday. Didn't really disclose what they were suspended for, but a couple of, I think at least one of them was a starter. Muhammad, can't remember who the other one was. Jackson, maybe? Both of those guys suspended yesterday.
Definitely some feel-good juice for Ohio State, though, getting that win. Boy, they were on a slide.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a tough part of their schedule. I mean, they lost the one game out of all that they lost their home game to Wisconsin. I mean, that's probably the one that stands out. The rest of them, they're explainable. They were on the road, and they've had a tough schedule. They're on an easier part of their schedule right now. They'll get back on the winning track. They'll be right there at the end.
Nebraska gave them all they wanted in the beginning. I mean, that was not a walkover game. They ended up winning that game by 12. They were a 17.5-point favorite, but Nebraska was in that game up until toward the end.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they played well. They hung around and. They made some shots, and Ohio State's not great. Like they're good, missing two guys who can score the ball for them. That's makes it difficult. But overall, it's a good win. It's the game that they needed right now. That Ohio State needed. It got them back on track.
Absolutely, and then tonight, of course, Indiana. Getting a road win over a team this is a team that Indiana lost to Rutgers last year, first of all. The year before that, they lost to them in the Big Ten tournament. This is not a team that Indiana has owned. And there's really not too many people that Indiana has owned, period. So there's none of that. You got no swag coming in. You got to just bring it. And you're the visitor here. So the pressure's on Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, You can say that, although then we also flip it around and say, it's how hard it is to win on the road. So the home teams are really the ones that have the pressure, in my opinion, because you need to hold home court advantage and win your home games if you're going to have a chance to compete for the Big Ten title or have a good seeding. But this is a really good opportunity. I've said some of the games that the way they're scheduled out for Indiana have come at good times. I thought the Northwestern game coming off of the loss at Maryland, I thought it came at a good time. They needed that game in between that and Ohio State. I think it worked out well. They got both of those wins. I think they played better in the Ohio State game because of having that Northwestern game in between. And then now that they've had a couple of, they won both home games, now they go on the road and they've got a really good opportunity. They've got two good opportunities this week. You never look ahead. Rutgers is a good, solid team. There isn't anything about Rutgers that's going to stand out and you're going to say, oh my gosh, they've got player of the year candidate, or, they can light it up from the outside. There's nothing about them that's impressive other than they're just a really solid team that's built around defense and they play hard. And that makes them difficult to beat.
I was going to say, there's nothing tougher than playing a team that you're better than physically or talent-wise, but yet they know that, and so they work twice as hard as you do. There's nothing tougher to deal with than somebody that you're going to have to outwork. You're going to have to outwork them because they know that they have to do that to beat you.
I mean, Rutgers is not a school from a basketball perspective that a kid is going to choose Rutgers over
anybody.
Over very many other schools, other offers that they have. So these are all kids that feel like they have something to prove. They feel like they were overlooked. So you take, I think, Ron Harper Jr., I think he's a sophomore right now. So you take him in a recruiting class of last year and you've got, Rob Finney for Indiana. I mean, he knows that Rob Finney was rated higher than him. They don't play the same position, but you get my point overall. I mean, he wants to come out and prove that Indiana missed out on not recruiting him and not signing him. And those situations happen in every ball game. There's always a kid that feels like in this scenario at Rutgers, he's always going to feel like he got snubbed. Nebraska's going to have the same issue. They're not very many people are going to choose Nebraska, over Kansas or maybe even Iowa or somewhere like that. I mean, they're going to have to win with recruits that are, not quite as sought after as what their opponents have.
Yeah, and then when you're a team like Rutgers, they're still new to the party, the Big Ten. They don't really belong in the Big Ten. They're not a Big Ten type school, but yet they're here. And they know that they're the stepsister to the conference, I think.
Sure.
And when you play on those teams, you're playing on a team that's a stepsister. So they've got to have and are forced to play with a chip on your shoulder. Otherwise, you're going to just get destroyed every night.
Well, in the Big Ten, so I'm asking you, like in the Big Ten, you name the blue blood programs in the Big Ten. Who would you say they are?
Indiana, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State. Well, it depends on what sport you're talking about, of course.
No, I'm talking about basketball. We're talking about
basketball. Then, of course, Indiana, Michigan State, Michigan
probably State. Michigan State, Michigan, Indiana, and possibly Ohio State, maybe. I mean, those are really the ones you would say. So when Rutgers looks at their schedule, Indiana is one of those top teams they would want to beat.
It's still Indiana.
It's a blue blood. They've got 5 national championships. I mean, no one else in the league can say that. And so you look at that, and that's obviously something they are going to want to beat. I mean, they want to. When people come to Assembly Hall, they've watched Assembly Hall on TV since they were kids. I mean, it's familiar to them. It's somewhere they want to go play it. It's not like a Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden is known, internationally. But from a college basketball perspective, I mean, Indiana is a school that, historically has been very difficult to beat, and they play on TV all the time, and these guys have watched them play. They probably didn't grow up watching Rutgers basketball on TV. They on CBS on the weekend, they watched Indiana or Kentucky or Duke or somebody like that.
I agree. And Indiana fans would certainly like to get back to those days of Chuck Marlowe and
I don't necessarily know they want
was,
Chuck to come back, but they want the same schedule. They want the same winning that was going on when Chuck
yeah,
was here.
that's more likely more about what I was talking about.
Yeah,
there.
I know.
The good old days, but now Indiana's got to go forward, and they have an opportunity to define who they are. We've talked so much about their identity, and because we haven't seen that, and we saw potentially what they could be against Ohio State, because that was certainly one of the best forms of themselves that we've seen. Now, can they continue that style of play? Can they continue that same moxie, that same attitude, that same want and desire? That's the question.
Yeah, and they showed in the Ohio State game that they have the tools. I mean, they've shown it in other games. They showed it in the Florida State game, and you know that I wouldn't necessarily say that they built off of that. This is another opportunity for them to do that. Like they showed in the Ohio State game that they can play really hard and make it very difficult for teams to score. Their defense, I think, was the highlight of the game for Indiana as an overall team against Ohio State. And now they've got an opportunity to build on that, take that on the road, and go win a couple of road games. And this is a big week for Indiana from the standpoint of we can look back on this. They're on a 2-game winning streak in the Big Ten. Both of those games happen to be at home. They've got, we can look back on these 2 games right here as it continued that, they're building their confidence and gave them the confidence to be able to win on the road. Or we can look at this as, this is where after gaining some confidence against Ohio State, they went on the road and lost it all. And they've got some really good, the schedule is difficult. Everyone can say this, but the schedule is difficult for everyone. But it's really these 2-game. I do not like this 2-game, 2 away games, 2 home games, 2 away games, 2 home games. I mean, that goes all the way until March. I am not a fan of that at all. I don't. That doesn't set up well for Indiana. But that's the reality.
That is the reality, and it's the path that they're going to have to travel. And I think that at the end of the day, it makes this team a better team. But they have got to do something they have not done this entire season, and that is play as good or better of a game than you did the game before. They have not done that yet, and if they can do that,
off of it, yep.
Yes, if they can do that, then now you've got something to talk about, and now you've got something to build on.
Yep, without a doubt, and that's why I say, these 2 road games this week. If you could select any of Indiana's opponents that they play on the road in this particular season, these are the 2 games I would select for this week. I mean, I'd probably flip-flop them. I'd probably have at Nebraska first and then Rutgers. But I mean, I don't mind it being the way that it is. I think this is a good test for them. I think this will let them know where they are. And hey, if they don't come out and play well and they don't come out and play hard, maybe it can be the wake-up call for them. It gets them to understand. I mean, if you look at talent-wise, Ohio State is, exponentially more talented than Rutgers. There's no doubt about it. They're coached really well. Both teams are coached well, but, Chris Holtman has done a fantastic job with that Ohio State team. And Indiana just went out and beat them by 12. So on paper, if you eliminate where the actual game is taking place, this is a game Indiana should be able to go out and win. And they've got that opportunity in front of them. Got to take advantage of it.
They do. What happens? I think that they split these 2 games. I think that they pull out a win out of one of them and they lose one of them, which to me, I think that's fine and dandy, because I don't care who you're talking about here. Neither one of these are easy because they're on the road. So if you can split them, I think that they're doing good. But what happens if they win both of these games?
If they win both of these games, they will separate themselves from the pack a little bit. It'll put them in a position where they'll, because if they win both of these, then they come back home for 2 home games. Now, those are 2 very difficult home games. It'll be Michigan State and Maryland back at home. But let's just play along with the game for a second. Let's just say you get both of these road wins, and then you come back and you win both of those 2 home games after that, Michigan State and Maryland. You'll have won 6 consecutive games in the Big Ten.
You'll be in the driver's seat of the Big Ten.
And you will be leading the Big Ten without question. Based on numbers alone of what we know right now, Indiana will be sitting alone atop the Big Ten if they could win these next 4 games. There's a lot of ifs involved in all that, and the anxiety I talked about earlier of Indiana fans. We're just not sure what team's going to show up tonight, and that's a different. I mean, that's Indiana fans are used to that for the last 20 years. They're not used to that for the last 40 years, and that's that's kind of where it sits right now. And they've got to hopefully that's something that we don't talk about in the future.
Yeah, it would certainly be nice, because it will determine how well Indiana's season is going to go. Like I said, this game will be the indicator for me, because you can take it on top of what we saw Saturday against Ohio State, which was a very, very positive. But there was still a lot of negatives there, man. You got 10 minutes and you can't score the ball.
Yeah.
And they were only down 3. They were very, 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 very lucky to be down 3 after not having a field goal for 10 minutes. So they were fortunate in that regard. But this game, to me, this bounce-back game, this next game, is going to show me where their head is, and are they looking to build off of what they just did. And if they are, then this is a dangerous team, and a team that's going to be at worst a top 5 Big Ten team, and a team that's going to be a 7 seed or better.
Yep. I agree with all of that. I mean, you can look at it from the standpoint of they were extremely lucky to only be down 3 against Ohio State, or you can look at it as a positive in that, oh my gosh, think how good they could be if they didn't have that drought and they didn't go 10 minutes without scoring. So yeah, I mean, they've offensively, they were not impressive in that game against Ohio State. I mean, Rob Finney got them off to a good start, making some threes to get things going. The second half was more controlled offensively by Devontae Green. But overall, I mean, you didn't get much out of Trace Jackson Davis. You didn't get much out of Joey Brunk. You didn't get much out of Justin Smith. You didn't get hardly anything else from anyone. And so there's a lot of improvement that they can have, that they can show. There's a lot of different things they can do to get better. And, offense is something that generally struggles on the road. Defense is something that can travel with you and you can play anywhere. So if they play well defensively tonight, they will win. That's where I feel really good about this team. I think they're good enough and athletic enough defensively. If they play well on the road defensively in these 2 ball games, Rutgers and Nebraska, they will win.
Jennifer in Evansville says Indiana being 15-3 after this weekend would be unbelievable.
It would be amazing. It would be great. I mean, think of the excitement coming back to Assembly Hall for a Michigan State game next Thursday night, coming back off of 2 road wins. I mean, that would be, you talk about excitement.
Tim says if we win every other game the rest of the season, we will have at least 20 wins. And it's actually a comforting thought to know that you could actually literally win every other game and end up with 20 wins.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It just is. That's the way you don't want to think about it. That's how you go on 12-game losing streaks, when you start thinking of it that way. I mean, every game, we talk about it, we used to talk about it as a team, and it's kind of a cliche statement to hear, but it truly is the case. I mean, if you analyze every game, 1 game at a time, Indiana is going to, Indiana should be the favorite in a game like tonight. Did we look that up? Do we know who's the favorite tonight? They should be the favorite in a game like this tonight. Man, that's Rutgers being a 3.5-point favorite is kind of surprising to me, although I guess I don't know why I would be surprised. I mean, that's how difficult the road is. But in our minds, when you look at this, Indiana should be the favorite. They should win this game at Rutgers. They should win the game at Nebraska. Just because they're at home, they should win the game against Michigan State and Maryland coming up after that. That next game at Penn State and the next game after that at Ohio State, those are games Indiana, if they won, they would be stealing them. Like we would all probably sit down and have those games as that's two you can look at and say, hey, this week you've got at Penn State, at Ohio State. If you split those, we'll take it right now. You know, if you told me right now you would give me a split in the two games this week at Rutgers, at Nebraska, I wouldn't take it. I think they have a better chance of winning both of those games. So I wouldn't take a split in those.
Well, maybe you don't get what you want.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think they have a chance of winning both of these games better than they have a chance of losing both of these games. And another road trip down the road, 3 weeks from now, they've got at Penn State, at Ohio State. In that week, I would, if you gave me the split ahead of time, I would take it because they have a better chance of losing both of those games than they do winning both of those games.
I agree with you. Sir. You are correct. It's Indiana has put itself in a position that a lot of people had hoped that they would be in, but I'm not sure that a lot of people really expected it. But they are, and they're in as good a position as they're, to me, in my mind now, they're in the top four as far as where they are at this moment, which is where you've had them the whole time. But they've climbed back up, but this week to me is critical. Can they stay there?
Yeah, this week is critical because it's something they haven't done. All right, they've not gone on the road in the Big Ten and won yet. So, that they've got to go do something that they haven't done yet, and that sometimes can be difficult. But this is overall, it's timed great. Like I love the way these games are set up right now. I love where they're at. I think tonight's a very difficult test that, you want a difficult test. You want this to be a good game, and you want to come out as the winner, obviously, but you want it to be a good game, and you want it to be difficult and tough, and you want to learn from it and get better. And that's where we're at with this team. I mean, I think they're better off than they were last year, for sure, at this point.
Yeah, I don't think that they were getting challenged at the beginning of this year. There's been a lot of talk about the schedule and how weak it was, and they weren't really getting challenged. And I'm not sure if that played a part into the slower development of the team, or maybe it's worked out just perfectly. I don't know. But if they can build on what they're doing right now, then it'll be just fine. They'll be in the perfect place because you want to just grow and continue to get better. And if you're getting better each day, that when the end of the season comes, you're at your optimum.
Yeah, I mean, tonight's a good challenge. I mean, tonight is you like challenges as an athlete, as a competitive person. You like challenges, and tonight they're being challenged with doing something that they haven't done yet, which is go win on the road in the Big Ten. And you want to take on those challenges and you want to accomplish them. And they've got a couple of great opportunities this week. And if they do that, the confidence level could just get it could get outrageous, and they could. That's the confidence they would need. Imagine winning both of these games, like I said earlier. Imagine winning both of these games, and then you get to come home and host Michigan State, who right now is leading the Big Ten by themselves. I mean, that's the game you want. That's the team on a roll, playing well. That's the game. That's when you want to play that game, and they've got that great opportunity. I mean, I like Indiana's schedule. I like, I heard somebody talking, a month ago, and they're talking about how difficult Indiana's schedule was in the Big Ten. Not having to go to Michigan State.
Well, they have the toughest, according to the ESPN stats. It is the toughest. It was the toughest remaining game.
They don't have to go to Michigan State. They don't have to go to Iowa. They don't go to Northwestern, so that's one you would like to have on there. But then on the flip side of that, they don't have Illinois come to Assembly Hall.
ESPN is currently giving Indiana a 38% chance of winning tonight's game.
Well, that's more than it was because earlier today it was 30%. So people are thinking Indiana's got a better chance now. They must have listened to us.
Well, you know it, of course. How could they not?
Well, who isn't?
How could they not? And once again, the show has just flown by.
Yep.
Flies by. Cannot thank Jordan Hulls enough, former Indiana basketball player, for being on the program today. Matt Weaver from Pigs.com, of course, was with us as well as we talked a little football. So we got that all squeezed in. We'll see what we can get squeezed in for Thursday and Friday as far as guests, what we can get scrounged up, working on a few things for you. And but we always do things big on Friday. But tonight, of course, Indiana takes on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights up in Piscataway, New Jersey. How can you not like saying Piscataway?
Because I don't like the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. But got to say Piscataway, where the Hoosiers are tonight. That game tips at 7 o'clock, of course. Is that a BTN game?
Yes.
Who's doing that? Who's doing the
Do not know.
Yeah, me either. But so you got that going for you, which is nice. But it gets even better because after the game with Todd Leary, of course, takes place live from Yogi's immediately following this contest. And that should be around 9-ish, thereabouts, as you can find us on Facebook Live, of course, as we'll be discussing the ins and outs of what has transpired the previous 2 hours. Todd's favorite part of his day.
Yeah, of course it is. Big night. Big night.
And ours as well. But
it will be if they get a win. I'll be super excited. I like road wins.
Hey, man, Indiana's moving forward. We'll see. But we appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you're back here tomorrow. Share the show out if however you come to find it to listen to it. If it's on radio, of course, you can't share that. But anywhere else, if it's a podcast or whatnot, share it. After the game, coming to you, of course, on Facebook Live tonight around 9-ish. We'll be having that sent out as well, so make sure you continue to join us. This show is just continuing to grow. We really appreciate you guys very, very much. Coming to you live from Yogi's, of course, brought to you by Best Beer Incorporated of Bloomington. Make sure when you're out and about, you have yourself a nice ice cold Budweiser, Bud Light, or Michelob Ultra, whichever, any of the kind. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up, man. Anything else for you, Todrick?
Nope. Looking forward to it. See you at Yogi's.
Absolutely. For Jake and for Todd, I'm Jim Coyle. Until tonight, I will see you on the radio.